It's Friday, September 24th, and the time for your Barbados Today News Update. Government is facing mounting pressure to revisit its position on mandatory vaccines sooner rather than later as daily COVID-19 cases and deaths continue to rise. Chairman of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Edward Clark, warns that the potential for severe economic fallout was now a severe national issue with serious implications for both the business class and working masses. And in the midst of a trade union backlash against mandating vaccines in some establishments, Clark defended the employer's right to protect workers.
We could have a very devastating impact on Barbados for a long time if we don't heed the warnings and people don't go and get vaccinated. Christmas will be certainly under severe pressure. We back to school has been certainly hit very badly, as you know. But we are hopeful that at some point children will be able to get back into school and that there is just a timing issue. But Christmas is not a timing issue. Tourists will go elsewhere if they're not coming to Barbados, and Barbados will take much longer to recover, as I said previously. It is not just Christmas, but this is a severe national issue that we have to look at and consider what is the long-term impact on our country and on our people. What's the future of employment? What's the future of the health system? Where do we go as a people, as a country?
Clark acknowledged the organization's collective support of government's voluntary vaccine policy, but added that businesses remain free to make their own decisions, particularly in certain critical areas.
I have agreed with the Prime Minister as the head of this private sector, and she is the head of the social partnership, that we would not mandate enforcement or encourage our people to enforce. But there is going to come a time when this country has to make a decision, and I will leave it at that at this stage. Because if we don't achieve the targets that we have to achieve as a country, and what's the next step? What is the next step? Are we going to continue and wait forever until people get vaccinated? So we don't have that luxury of time. We simply don't have the luxury of time. Individual business people are therefore going to make their own decisions if it prolongs too long.
Meanwhile, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is calling for the implementation of a mandatory vaccine policy for healthcare workers as the rise in COVID-19 cases takes its toll on frontline human resources. Our Kareem Smith tells us more.
In a wide-ranging assessment of the current moment, BAMP President Dr. Linda Williams reiterated calls for patience with the vaccine hesitant, but revealed that such leniency could no longer be extended to public health workers. Of the current restrictions that include a 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, Dr. Williams contended that the changes to these measures should be contingent on more than meager increases in the country's vaccination numbers. She also called for a strategic plan to address the rampant community transmission that educates citizens about the importance of regular testing for residents in COVID hotspots, government institutions, and on the front lines. The medical body then took aim at the issue of misinformation that seeks to, quote, denigrate the tireless and unstinting efforts of the healthcare workers of Barbados and condemned recent acts of slander against them. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
As at August 31st, 2021, Barbados's 12-month welcome stamp program had received 2,953 applications, 1,987 of which were approved. The program has also generated over $8 million in application fees. According to the statistics compiled by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., with data received from the Barbados Immigration Department, the top 5 countries seeking entry under the program are the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Canada, Nigeria, and Ireland. From the applications received, 65% were from individuals and 35% from families. Back in July 2020, government announced the Welcome Stamp program, which seeks to assist in diversifying the island's tourism product, as well as to fill the gap left by a substantial drop in tourist arrivals due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, the Trinidad and Tobago government says face-to-face classes will resume on October 4th for fully vaccinated students from forms 4 to 6. More in this report from TV6 News.
The country is nowhere near target as it relates to overall vaccination, but also as it relates to the vaccination of the eligible student population. Still, with 39,000 out of an estimated eligible 60,000 vaccinated, government is moving full steam ahead with its plan to reopen physical school.
Those 39,000 students, as they become fully vaccinated, which is 2 weeks after their second shot, school will open for all practitioners and participants at the schoolhouse. School will open on October 4th for forms 4, 5, and 6 to be fully attended.
As promised, there's still a place for the unvaxxed.
For those students who are not fully vaccinated, they will not be allowed to participate on the school compound, but we'll make alternative arrangements for them to participate in schooling in the virtual way. These are decisions not by anybody bullying anybody, but by free choice.
A key question in the minds of parents who will be subjecting their children to the first ever reopening on this scale is whether their children will be interfacing with vaccinated teachers only.
I don't have a figure. I don't even think the minister has a figure because we have not county heads. But what we do know is that very many teachers are vaccinated and quite a few are not. And we don't want to get into a situation where we spend the valuable teaching time for these students fighting over vaccine enforcement for teachers.
And finally, a panel of experts for the Centers for Disease Control on Thursday voted to allow use of booster shots for adults first vaccinated with Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine at least 6 months ago, including those 65 years and over and those at risk for severe disease. More from Reuters TV.
The vote clears the way for a rollout to begin as early as this week. The booster shots were authorized by the FDA on Wednesday. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Panel declined to recommend boosters for adults ages 18 to 64 who live or work in institutions with high risk of contracting COVID-19, such as healthcare workers, teachers, and residents of homeless shelters and prisons. Some panel members cited the difficulty of implementing such a proposal. The CDC said that some 26 million people in the United States received the second Pfizer shot at least 6 months ago, including 13 million aged 65 or older.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.